Hello, everybody. Welcome to our tips and tricks coffee break for SAP Business One. I'm with Mike Taylor, who's going to cover period end closing in SAP Business One. Are you there, Mike? I think you're
I'm
on
here. Hi,
mute.
Tracy.
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to anybody during the presentation, if you have any questions, you've got the chat box and the Q&A box, and I'll manage them for Mike if you need anything. So, all right, Mike, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Tracy. All right, as Tracy mentioned, we'll be doing period end closing, which differs from a year-end closing. We do have another video on year-end closing as well, so I'm just going to focus kind of more on the middle of the year. I'll talk about, we acknowledge, a lot of people are looking for more introductory webinars and are coming from different systems. In the accounting world, you are the experts. We facilitate that with SAP Business One. So your process might look totally different, but this is going to be kind of a summary of what I would normally see. And feel free to interpret it and just take the pieces that you want. And, at the end of the day, if you do need more help, feel free to reach out to us. So I'll talk about the general kind of closing framework and philosophy. We'll talk about manual entries, bank reconciliation, ARAP, financial reporting, and then a little bit about how the period end statuses will work. So let's jump into that. So basically, during the year, you are, kind of doing the exercise of getting the best financial picture that you can get. So with that in mind, this is kind of roughly the framework that we follow. You want to collect all of your information to make sure that that information is entered. If there are invoices that are late or things like that, you're familiar with, kind of backdating things and getting them in. You want to verify and do your reconciliation process. Again, just making sure that what's posted is accurate and that you do your bank reconciliations, which also help you to find maybe missing transactions or things that weren't reconsidered. You can always go back to a previous, especially in the middle of a year, it's easy to go back and post things in a previous period. But yeah, doing it properly the first time using the bank recs really helps. There are a lot of accruals and fixed assets that people will be doing throughout the year. We won't cover fixed assets in basically at all today, but we have other videos about them as well. So there's a full fixed assets module. You want to do your reporting. So you would generate reports monthly so you can use all the information that you've entered and take advantage of having all your information in SAP to, see sort of the trends of what your business, of what's happening in your business, and using that to make great decisions as you review them. So basically, again, the purpose of really having any ERP system is to be a more intelligent business, in my opinion. I think of SAP Business One as the brain of your business, whereas operations is the arms, and you could say sales is kind of like the legs. You work all together, and at the end of the day, you want to bring everything together, see the trends, make better decisions, and have all the data amongst a lot of other things. So we'll jump into SAP Business One here. So we're not going to go through, posting an invoice, posting an AP invoice. It's not really what we will do today, but, just part of that collect portion is collect and enter, is making sure that you're doing your matching and your timing principles where you want to put everything into the same period. So you're doing your goods receipts and matching them with your AP invoices as much as possible. I won't cover that. We'll talk a little bit about journal entries. So if you're doing a journal entry at the end of the period, you might want to do some of the recurring postings that you would do. So, you have recurring postings and you have recurring transactions. So something that you would be doing at the end of the month, maybe you will do payroll, you're probably doing the payroll bi-weekly, but you can use these template postings and they can be saved in order for you to save time while you're doing your standard adjustment entries per month. So you don't have to type them in. So you can find that under the financial posting templates. And that is one way that will help you as you go from month to month. If you do accruals, if you're doing commissions, if you're doing things like that. So that's one of the things that's kind of a non-standard thing, not just an invoice. It could also be a journal entry. You can use recurring time postings as well. So there are recurring postings that you can do. The recurring postings will actually give you a schedule as well. And this will allow you to set a valid, a repeating period where it would run, every month or on different frequencies. And it will pop up in order for you to post it. So it's kind of nice if you're doing it monthly. You could do it monthly at the end of the month, and it will at least remind you to do those certain things so you can just sit back, clear it from your mental day-to-day list, because you know that it's going to come back at you at the end of the month and you don't have to think about that or maintain a checklist. Some people maintain a checklist, a month end standard operating procedures checklist. I think that's a great way of reinforcing that, but it's also good to have it pop up on, the 28th or the 29th or the 30th, just to remind you, hey, this is something that I need to collect and enter to give my organization the best financial picture that I can in order to make the best decisions. Not all of the recurring postings are really good to do just as a journal entry. So I know as accounting people, most of the accounting people are probably gonna be watching this. You like your journal entries. You love to post things and move values around. Really, with SAP, because it's an ERP, it's an integrated system. You want to avoid journal entries as much as possible, believe it or not, because they don't give you the maximum amount of information. So you would say, oh, I'm just gonna journal accounts receivable and just put the information where I want it. It's not, it's not the best way to do it. So we want to encourage you to use recurring documents more than recurring postings. So the recurring templates, recurring postings are good for financial things, maybe more so like accruals. But if you can do things with recurring transactions, you will, in my professional opinion, be better off. So you can set up documents that will make your life easier. So say you pay rent and you want to cut a check for that, you can just do that as a specific recurring transaction that will come up the same way that the recurring postings come up, and it will result in the same journal entry transaction, but you will have a nice clean invoice that you can pay from, or if it's a vendor situation, that you can pay out to in terms of the rent here. So you would have your AP invoice for rent. You can generate templates based on any sort of document. So this is one way you could do recurring revenue, but a lot of the times how I see this will be accounts payable operations here too. So you can do a lot of different things through here. You actually do generate a specific template, and then you can enter the information for that particular, in this case, vendor, what GL accounts it affects, what tax code, what the normal total is. Again, if it's like a lease or some sort of static rental situation, it's a little bit easier. And then you do have the transaction frequency, and you can see that with that template, go back there, that you would be able to have it specifically set up on the month, on the first day of the month, or you could do it at the end. And again, kind of managing by exception. You don't have to kind of keep that on your mental plate, because in my opinion, keeping that keeping that loop in your brain, because it uses energy in the background, it really does waste physical energy. So I like to kind of have things where I trust them. It's going to come back and remind me. And then I like to completely let them go. So this helps you to clear your mental cache and just leave those things alone. If you have a nice checklist, again, you can put those on there, but this will also help you to just post those things very easily. So they don't have to be static. You can actually just have the template pop up, and it should by default display on the specific day that it's meant to be posted. You can just pop open this particular recurring document, make changes to whatever you want, add your vendor reference number, change whatever, and then when you post it, it will actually go away. So let's say rent. And then you should be free of the document here. And you see that it is gone. So again, clear your mental cache, simplify your life a little bit, stay on top of all those period end closing things, the monthly things that you just have to do every month so you can focus on doing other things. Another part of your verify and reconcile, collect and enter, kind of those two things, is everybody's favorite bank reconciliations. So SAP Business One does have an automatic way of uploading your statements. I am not showing that today. That is kind of an extension process. If you've worked with the EFT file setup, it kind of works like that. You map your bank's file format, and you can actually upload it. So that's a topic for another video. I will just cover your standard manual reconciliation process. So I generally, the most standard starting way to do it is a manual reconciliation. This is the one I'm going to cover. This is what most people are using if they don't use automatic, the automatic one I was mentioning. So you pick a specific code, you enter what your ending balance is going to be based on your statement, and then you say the ending statement date. And if you are an accountant, you are probably very familiar with this. You pull out your rulers and your highlighter, or if you do it in a spreadsheet, you can do it that way. That's kind of the old school way of doing it with the ruler and the pen, cross out every row. I still do see that, but you can come through here. These should be basically in the order of how you are doing, how you're seeing things in your bank statement, and you can go through and clear them. I've previously gone through and cleared a few of them just as an example, and you can go through, make sure you have everything you need row by row. You can save this with this button in the bottom right-hand corner. You can leave, and when you come back, it will be where you left off. So you don't have to do it in one shot. You could do some things, go do some investigation. Inevitably, you're going to be interrupted. Come back and continue. You can also post adjustments as you find them. So if there's something, a fee, you can just record the journal entry for that fee. I know I said to do everything as invoice. Some things do need to be as journal entries. You can do an incoming payment, an outgoing payment, a check for payment, a deposit, or again, you can just save, go out, make, track down an invoice, again, trying to complete the best financial picture that you can make for that period that you're closing. Once you do this and it equals 0, you've got down to 0, then you just push reconcile, all this stuff nicely disappears, and you can move on. I'm not going to attempt to do that. This is a demo system, but you can also put your statement number up there, and it allows you to do what you need to do in that regard. If you do make a mistake, you can always manage your previous external reconciliations. I'm not really going to go through this, but when you have a previous external reconciliation, you can cancel it, which will release that reconciliation. And then you can go and redo it if you need to, make some small changes or adjustments, and then re-reconcile it. So banking statements, and external reconciliation, generally using manual reconciliation, and managing your previous external reconciliation. Next thing that's pretty common is aging. So financials, financial reports, accounting aging, customer receivables aging, vendor liabilities aging. Generally, people are going to cover this up to a specific date. So you can say up to aging, posting up until the date, and you can go through and just double check and see if there are any very, outstanding customers. In this case, being a demo system that's quite old, I have a lot of very concerning situations here, and I would really need to look into them. But for what you're doing, hopefully you are on top of things and you can easily see if there are outstanding documents that need to be followed up on. You can drill into those specific documents. You can make those phone calls here. You can right click and add new activity saying that I made a call, and you could do your collections from here. So, you can see, hey, why haven't you paid this invoice? Did you not receive this invoice? And all those things. It's a very common function of an AR person or an accounting bookkeeping person at the end of a period to track down and make sure that your cash is flowing. I'm not going to cover the AP side. It's kind of just the opposite. Of course, if you had invoices that were due that you said, oh, shoot, I forgot about that, you can run the AP aging, cut your checks, do your payments. Maybe there was some mistake or you needed to follow up on something and there's something you needed credit for. Same basic process in reverse. There's also the Dunning wizard, which people will do the customer statements. I'm not covering the statements today, but that would have been a good thing to cover as well. Out of the box, SAP does have statements. We have other videos. You could see B1 up, print and delivery. There's another method you can automatically send statements. It's a great system, but along with the statements, you can do the Dunning wizard. So the Dunning wizard, in terms of following up on the AR aging side of things, the word Dunning is kind of like an old Englishy word for collections. It really is just the collections wizard. And if I would make a suggestion to SAP, call that collections wizard. Dunning feels like slapping people on a wrist or something like that. I haven't actually looked up what the word means, but that's where we're at. So you basically run this. Every customer is set up with a set of Dunning terms. I'm just going to run and see if I can get any information here. So this brings up all the customers that are on a specific set of terms. So the customer can set up on the payment terms, and I have a set of Dunning terms. And within those Dunning terms, you can lay out what you are going to have issues with and how you are going to word the letters for those specific scenarios. So you could have up to 10 different letters. I mean, if you really wanted to get crazy, I'm sure we could work around that. But you could have Dunning letter 1 is, hey, customer, perhaps you didn't receive the invoice that we sent you. These are the invoice documents that are outstanding and overdue. If you would like us to send this invoice again, please get in touch with us. Letter 2 is, hey, we're pretty sure you have this invoice now and you need to pay us. Here are the ways to pay us. And you can escalate from there up until, we're going to break your legs or whatever. And you can set the different ranges or your tolerances. You can set whether it's charged interest and automate the posting of that interest. You can charge a fee for sending a physical letter, and it will do all of the management of, have we warned this customer on this particular document? You can go back in the history of that document and see if you have warned them. And it streamlines that process so that, if you probably will still have to make some uncomfortable calls in certain situations. But if you have a lot of customers, it helps you to just, treat it in a systematic way, especially if you have hundreds of customers. You're not necessarily going to make all of those calls. And it will help to do that at the end of the month, to stay on top of the process, to send out those letters along with your statements, and to keep your customers specifically up to date on the situation, and hopefully to resolve it in a positive way, right? Maybe they did literally not get the email. That happens, and it's not a malicious thing. So you can see here that it has the different customers. I have different customers there, and it shows you what letter, what level they're on. You'd be able to see that in the history of the document. You then would do this next. I'm not going to do this as demo system, and basically you can email them or physically print them. Again, with B1 Out Print and Deliver, you can do a lot more with that, make it a little bit, make it a lot more nice of a layout, etc. Of course, you have your classics, the reporting, which is kind of what we're all here for. You can run this as a monthly report, do it at the end of the period, and you can run that. This of course gives you probably too much data, so I'll just go to today. And so you can kind of go through the year and do your comparisons at whatever level. You can see if your collections, your collection operations, or your cash flow is working. And you can see in my example here, the data doesn't really change too much in a demo system, but you can break it down as a monthly report. You can run it as of the period end using the annual report, which will give you a single total. And you can also do this in terms of your P&L. So you go P&L, you can do your monthly report. So I just go 0801 to today and run this, and it'll just give you the ability to break this down. I tried to vary up the information here a little bit so you can see your totals on the left side, and then by each month you can analyze it. We do have comparisons as well. So you have financial comparisons. So you can do this year versus last year and all of those good things. A lot of people coming from the QuickBooks world and some accountants love their trial balances. I know it's a thing. I don't tend to run them as much, but if you're going to run a trial balance, this is a good way to look at the changes over a period for all of your accounts. And so, of course, we have the trial balance. You can run that. And you can do it in the same way, monthly, annual. The annual, it says annual, but really it's just, you can think of it as single total, however you want to do it. I guess you could use the periodic. I just run the annual. It gives you really the same numbers. You can break out your sub ledgers and view those in more detail as well. And there's a lot of other details on that report.
Hang on, Mike, just a sec, Mike. I've got a question here from Alana. Just a second. I'm gonna unmute you. If you want to ask your question, go ahead, Alana.
Yeah, my question is in regards AP, but I know that you are not talking about that right now. It was in regards to the aging and the payments. Sometimes, basically not the aging, sorry, is the payments if you go to bank. When I want to use the wizard for payments in the bank.
Oh, yes, the payment wizard?
Yes, the payment wizard. Every time I go and select the payment wizard is there. Could you go there? And then if I want to create a payment here, no, in the next one, when I sorry, it's in the place where we put the range here. When I choose the range, I usually use the due date as a range. I from October to now, but when I run it, every way I run it, it always skip vendors. That I'm looking at the vendor and it has everything right, the day, the time, everything, everything correct, and it's due. But when I run it, it doesn't include it. So I always have to go back to review my aging. So am I doing something wrong?
Yes, in the nicest way possible. Yeah. Yes, there is a little bit of extra setup. I'm just kidding. You're doing. It sounds like you're doing a great job. There is an additional layer of setup that's needed to use the payment wizard. So let's jump in there to the next. So you choose. This is just for checks. I'm gonna set what I don't know what it is today. It's somewhere around there. Set this, which I didn't do. Just hang tight for 1 second. I have to do this here too. Okay, So one of the things that you can use is this button down here, non-included transactions. So
Yes.
this will show you that there are no payment methods linked to this BP. So you
Mhm.
have to actually define the payment run method that's default. And you have to actually say you can pay by Canadian check, you could pay by Canadian EFT, and then you want to set one as default and then update it so that you know how you pay them. And then for that particular vendor, each of the documents, like from when you do the setting, new documents will have that, but the old documents will not have the payment method linked there. So say I did this, let's just go back here really quickly. So I'm going to say, they can either do EFT or check, or you can either do EFT or check, but I set as default the check. So every time I go to make a new one for this vendor, it will have the check as the default, but the problem is the existing ones are not tagged that way. So you would have to go back in the payment method and pick the one that's linked with that. If you don't have this linked, then the payment wizard will not consider it as part of your payment run system. So that's probably what you're missing, is it has to have a payment method configured. Does that help you?
Um, well, yes, I noticed some, I'm running the report as well, and I check some, and sometimes you are right. What you are saying is correct. It is something missing, or I just change the default method or whatever. But sometimes, as I said, a review and everything is fine. I mean, it's updated. The invoice that I'm going to pay, it has a default payment method that is the one that I'm using. The currency is correct. I mean, everything is correct. The setting is correct, but it's just not included into the list that I want to pay. So I run it again, and I restart the computer, whatever. I mean, and it's not including. So I was wondering that maybe I was doing it wrong, but you said that that basically is the way to do it, as you showed me, right? So
Yeah, I mean, it isn't probably likely. I've done this a long time. It likely isn't a mysterious glitch. There's probably something just missing with the selection criteria or something.
oh,
Have you
okay.
seen it in the non-included transactions here? Like it tells you exactly what's there. If it is not included, it's probably that you didn't add them here as a vendor potentially, or the date range. Maybe you're filtering by posting date and due date. Or maybe there's something there that's or maybe your selection priority is off. Just reach out to support, and they'll be able to break it down for you more. I guarantee you we'll be able to figure out what it is and help work with
Yeah,
you to
that's right.
figure that. Yeah, but
Great.
I'm sure we can get it in there for you. So
Okay,
yeah,
great.
thanks
So, but
thanks for the question.
the way I was choosing the criteria to, I mean, the due dates, I mean, that is not a problem, right? I mean, I was doing that part correct. Am I
Well,
right?
just try.
Yeah.
As just an experiment, just set this to way out, right, and just see if it appears, because maybe it is something to do with the date range, something. So you
Okay.
should see more,
Okay.
and
But the
then
support desk should be good to help
yeah,
you with that, though,
yeah,
Okay.
Eliana.
yep, yep,
Great. Thanks a lot for your help. Thank
You're
you.
yeah. You're
welcome.
welcome. Yeah. So the last thing I just wanted to cover here is posting periods. So once you're done everything that you're doing, you want to basically do your reconciliation and then set the period to either closing or lock it up so that people can't go back and mess with the numbers. If I don't want to point fingers here at salespeople, but problem a lot of the times is backdating of invoices for the purpose of commission. You want to kind of block people from doing any of that stuff. So you would go administration, system initialization, posting periods, and then we have this to automatically update the posting period to closing period after 10 days into the new month. So 10 days after October starts, it will set September to closing. The different period statuses mean closing period is a special one that only specific users that have access to that status can post into it. So it'll just naturally block, say, non-super users. You can leave it as unlocked, except sales. So you can leave it unlocked. So maybe AP is working on things, but you want to set it to unlocked except sales. Maybe AP's, working to get some things in, some landed costs or late or whatever. And then once you have finished everything you're doing, remember to set it to locked. And you can go set that to locked, update it, and that will stop even you from accidentally backdating it. You can always come back into here, unlock it, and post whatever you need to, rerun your reports and then relock it. But it's important at the end of the posting period. Close that up, seal the deal. My system's a little bit messy here being a demo system, but that would be my last step to recommend. So we collected stuff, verified and reconciled it, we reported it, reviewed it. We are a much smarter organization, and that's basically it from me. If you need any
Thanks,
help,
Mike.
reach out. Take it away, Tracy.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Does anybody have any other questions? In the meantime, like I said, you've got the chat box, but I just want to say for the customers that are new, we do these tips and tricks normally every 2 weeks, but my schedule was kind of displaced with the customer event we had last week. So next week we have another one. So if anybody's interested, you'll see the topic when I send them out on Tuesday. And Mike specified earlier about dunning letters. We have past sessions that we've covered on these dunning letters. So if you want to see how to do those, right, Mike, where we did that maybe a few
Yeah.
years ago, right? The dunning letters.
Yeah, well, we have tons of videos on the
exactly.
Forgestik YouTube. Go back to the Forgestik YouTube, look through there. I mean, I think this is my 42nd webinar in this series. So that's just for
Exactly.
me. So we have
Yep.
tons of stuff for new customers. Go and check it out.
Exactly. So, well, thanks everybody. I don't seem to have any questions. Well, thanks, Mike. Happy weekend, everybody. And I'll be sending out the next invites on Tuesday. So have a great weekend, all. Thanks.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye, Trace.